Okay. All right. So you're using. So hi. So shall we begin with Namokar Mantra, everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Kinjal, would you like to do the Namokar Mantra?
Sure. Om Namo Varikantanam. Om Namo Siddhanam. Om Namo Ayariyanam. Om Namo Vachayanam. Namo Loe Savasahunam. Eso Panchanamukaro. Savapavapanasano. Mangalanancha Savvesim. Padamam Havai Mangalam. Padamam Havai Mangalam.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Jai Jain, everyone, and welcome. So we'd like to start off with introductions. We have a few people here. We've been doing several sessions on this, but we'll be brief on the introductions. But why don't we start off? Kinjal, would you like to introduce yourself and your background, and then we'll go to each person and do some introductions.
Jai Jain, everybody. My name is Kinjal Muta, and I have been a Pathshala teacher for past 8 or 9 years. We were in Richmond, Virginia before. We started the Pathshala there along with my husband, Pritesh Muta. And it was a great journey for us from beginning to where the Pathshala is currently. So we learned a lot. We made a lot of mistakes along the way. So this is where we share all of it from our experiences. So we all can learn together as a team. And great. Currently we are living in Houston, Texas. We moved over the summer. So I'm looking forward to a new association with Jain Society of Houston also.
And Kinjal, you're also the administrator for the Pathshala WhatsApp group.
Yes, I forgot about that. We have a USA Pathshala Teachers WhatsApp group. It's a platform where more than around, I think 280 right now, Jain Pathshala teachers from all over US communicate. They share stuff. It's a great resource. We made a lot of use during the COVID times, but things were online. But it is still useful. If you have any questions, if you need a story, if you're looking for ideas, please post there. That is a wonderful place, and people are very quick to respond, very helpful. It's a wonderful group of people.
Yes, and if people haven't been on there, it's definitely a place to get resources. And so I'm Manoj Jain. I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, and I work as a doctor, but I'm very passionate about Jain values and bringing Jainism to the next generation, which is a project of the Long Range Planning Committee. And so with the Pathshala teachers, with Kinjal, the Pathshala directors, we're working on this idea of introducing Jain values to the younger generation. So let's have other folks introduce themselves. And this is actually a brainstorming, thinking out loud session. So it is not a lecture. It is not something that we're imparting, tremendous knowledge, but we all are facing the same challenges, which is preserving our religion in North America. And so maybe let me ask individuals to introduce themselves. Surali, I see that on the name. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Surali?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Surali Sa. I'm staying in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay. Are you a Pathshala teacher? Do you have children?
Yeah, I'm in Pathshala teacher in level 1 here. It's 3 to 6 years old kids, elementary.
It's a very challenging class that Surali has to handle, but she does a wonderful job.
Yeah, and then some of the things that you have to deal with. Now, do you have your own kids also?
Yeah, my own kids also. And my younger one is with me only, this class.
Okay, so he's how old?
She's 5 years old.
Okay, good. Wonderful.
And she
All
has
right.
another daughter who's 10 years old, Tani.
10 years old.
Yeah.
Soon to be teenager, another challenge. You have to sort of figure out how to keep them in the Jain values. Great.
Yeah, right.
So we'll talk about that, and we want to share experiences with folks and what they believe has worked. Arav,
Yeah.
Arav, would you introduce yourself? Yeah.
Hello, Jai Jinendra, Manoj Bhai, and Kinjal.
Jason.
Jai
Arav
Jinendra.
is my hi Kinjal. Arav is my son's name. I am Mayuri, and I have been teaching Jainism class 2 at Houston. This will be my 4th year,
Wow.
and yes, and we have kids from the school grade of 1st and 2nd. It's awesome age. They believe you everything. You can mold them the way you want. They come up with so intelligent questions. Sometimes I feel really proud that I'm teaching this class, because my class kids, they are so small and they all come up with their own questions. It's not like their mom taught you this or dad or something. It's their own questions, and they discuss all these things with their peers, friends, and I was very much amazed. Last week, one of my student, when we were discussing what is the importance, concept of celebrating Diwali for the Jain people. So
Yeah.
he told me everything about the Maheshwami last Deshna, and he added that we should not do any fireworks.
Yeah.
So I'm very
Great.
happy teaching this class, and this is a good
So-
opportunity for
Yeah.
offered by the Jaina for the teacher to have some learning the platform.
Absolutely. And we'll talk more about that and how we can do it. Palomi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Palomi. I work as an environmental engineer,
Oh,
and I've been
very
used to
Jain
be-
work. Very Jain work.
well, yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
I am co-teacher in Kinjal's class, so we are a group of 4 teachers right now because we have 54 students in one class.
Wow.
So yeah, it's Kinjal, me, and then the other 2 teachers. I've been teaching Jainism class, and previously I used to teach Gujarati.
Oh,
So-
wonderful. And do you have
Yeah.
kids?
Yeah, I have 4-year-old and 10-year-old.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
This is a great place to, Parsha is a great place to impart those values that you have. So great. We have Tani.
No, Tani was, I think, Surali logged in.
Oh,
as Tani.
Surali logged in. Okay.
We can move on to the next person.
Okay. I
Yeah.
think we have Neha. Would you like to introduce yourself, Neha?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Jai Jinendra, everyone. I'm Neha Malu. I'm from Memphis, and I'm a product manager working at Premium Guard since last 6 years.
And you have kids?
I have 2 kids, a 3 years old and 18 months old.
Okay.
wow.
Ooh, handful. All right, great.
Yes.
Shibani. If you would like to introduce yourself. Go ahead if you can unmute. Until then, we also have Prakhar.
Prakhar Kaudia.
Hey,
Yeah,
Jai Jinendra,
please.
everyone.
Yeah.
This is Prakhar Kauri. I'm Memphis based. I'm working as a data scientist in FedEx from last 16 years. And I have 2 kids, one 13-year-old and one 5-year.
Wow.
Looking forward to see what's the best way to engage our kids and the young generation with the Jain principles and everything. And
Yes.
I find it a fantastic day, Dr. Manoj Jain, for you to start this session today. I mean, it's a Gyan Panchami, so what a fabulous day to start this session. So thanks a lot.
Actually, that's great. Did I leave Kinjal, anyone out?
Bhavisha Shroff?
Oh, Bhavisha. Yes, Bhavisha.
Hi, I'm Bhavisha and I'm from JSMC, Chicago. As we all know, it's Gnan Panchami today, so I'm so sorry just in advance, letting you guys know that I may have to drop out in the middle because I have to go to the temple. We have
No
a
problem. I know.
Yeah.
And actually, we're also doing a session tomorrow for the Chicago people too. So
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
same,
Okay.
same time. So you can join in as well. Yeah.
Okay. So I have two kids, 20-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Okay.
I have been teaching level 4 Pathshala class at JSMC. These are 11, 12 years old, so middle schoolers. It's a little challenging because they are at that phase where they want to fit in, they want to be cool. So sometimes it does get a little challenging, especially if we have more boys than girls, then it does. But nowadays it's same. I also teach Sutra class. We have separate Sutra class before or Pathshala. And I am one of the JAP coaches at JSMC.
Oh, wow. Super.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have Vitika introduce herself. Vitika, if you would introduce yourself. And then I'll have Edwin introduce himself. So go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Jai Jinendra. My name is Vitika Bajatya, and I am working as a supportive staff with Manoj sir, and also working as a supportive staff with Jaina Long Range Planning Committee and Jain Path. I'm based in India, and I also have two kids, two girls. One is 1 year old and one is 10-year-old. So we are all in the same platform almost.
Yes.
So I'm also there to assist Pathshala teachers in their Jain Path journey across the country.
Great. So Vitika is a staff person working with us in India, doing a fabulous job, has tremendous knowledge of Jainism, and brings all of that so that we can scale up, we can spread our knowledge with others. And so she's incredibly helpful for that. And also Edwin Rodriguez, who's based in India also, is IT person who makes all of this technology happen. Edwin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Edwin Rodriguez. I'm basically an IT consultant. I overtake most of the projects of Dr. Jain in India. And I've been into multiple domains from the last 23 years. So nice meeting all.
Great. And so Edwin is a great resource work for us. He's made everything happen, worked nearly all of the Jain publications that we have worked on. So Kinjal, why are we here? Why do we need to talk about this topic of Jainism for our Pathshala teachers and for young people? Let's begin with the why conversation, and then let's go into some of the ways that we can help our young people understand. What are your thoughts?
The why came a lot. It was always around. If any of you know Praveen Ankal, he's the head of the Jaina Education Committee, who wrote most of the Pathshala books, the Jaina books. They were written under his command. But when I came in touch with this, is when we formed the USA Pathshala Teachers Group. And then I know the problems I was facing at our son to get the attention of middle schoolers and high schools, capture their interest, make sure that once they're out the door in high school, they don't have to like follow rituals, but at least have the basic Jain principles in their mind and in their lives. So they will have more peaceful and less stress-free lives. So that was our goal. But we were seeing that most people are just until high school, they have this association because of their parents. And once they move out, that association kind of went away. So our goal is for our kids to continue this path of Jainism long after they leave Pathshala. They should have fond memories of Pathshala, not as something they were forced into, something they were looking forward to. And the only people who can do that are the Pathshala teachers, right? They are the only ones who can, they are the face of Jainism for kids. They are the ones who look up to that, oh, this is my Jain teacher. So you are ideals for them. So it is very important that we are playing a much bigger role in their lives than we know. So when
Playing a
talking to
huge role.
girls,
Yeah.
so I completely agree. So when
Yeah.
we are doing that, speaking, everybody has different problems, but because of technology and Zoom, it is possible that we can all come together and think of a solution, and we can train ourselves and learn new ways where we can help the kids, in turn help ourselves. So that is where this workshop came into picture. That was a need of the hour. We had many teachers who wanted to be teachers, many parents, because their kids were Pathshala going age, but they said, I don't know anything more than Aukar Mantra. Where do I start? So this is a platform where any teacher, be it senior teacher or junior teacher, can start their journey, learn more about it. If you're good at knowledge, you learn how to teach to kids. If you're good at teaching, you learn what to teach, right? So there's a balance of teachers who are good at teaching but don't have enough background in Jainism, at the same time, who are good at Jainism. They know a lot, but they don't know how to deliver it to the kids.
Absolutely. And please, everyone, your reasons as well for joining. This is critically important for parents and Jain Pathshala teachers. We don't have a very active Pathshala in Memphis, but we certainly need the individuals to be, coming up and let's start something. Teachers are the key to Jainism for the young people. We come from different backgrounds. We are passionate. Young parents are there, and we want to preserve Jainism. So let me ask people: Have people seen this book, Jain Way of Life? Any thoughts and comments from individuals? Anyone seen this book? You can see my screen, right, Kinjal?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
yes.
see. I see
Yes.
that book.
Okay, tell me what your thoughts have been on this.
Jain practices, Jain principles, Jain philosophy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this Jain Way of Life book was my brother Yogen Jain. He was not able to join because he's traveling today, but that talked about the Jain practices. But behind those practices are lots of philosophies and principles. And so the book has had a profound impact because it takes Jainism and makes it much easier for individuals into day-to-day. And this is a much a list of things that why we're going to have this conversation about Jain Path. It's really about our young people and how to get that message through Pathshala teachers about the Jain philosophy, principles, and practices. If you haven't seen the book, I would encourage you the following. It is online. I have a very messy desktop. I apologize for that. But if you get a chance, go on the website jainpath.org where you signed up, and you can click it right here, and you can see the book, and it's an excellent resource for our students in a very simple way of looking at the treasures and so forth in Jainism. So going back to our conversation on Jainism and the need for our children. So the way to convince our children is going to be that there is a great deal of value in it for them. Yes, with faith in others, it'll be there. But there are many values in Jainism that they may not be aware of. that we want to end. And these are from the ancient scriptures, the values are there. And what we have worked on is to try to bring those values into a common platform of Jain Path. But before I go into that conversation, Kinjal, let me ask you this. If someone were to ask you about our scriptures, what would be a book which tells you that is our Bible of the Jains? Anything that you think about?
Yeah, there are many. Sometimes people will say Agam, but I think the common book that all sects of Jainism believe is the Tattvartha Sutra. So
Right.
that is one book that is followed and believed by all the three paths, be it Shwetambar, Digambar, Sanakvasi, all of them believe, and it has common basic principles that applies to all, which is not based on rituals.
Absolutely. So the Long Range Planning Committee, just to give you a history, took on the idea of how do we take what's in the Bible of the Jains and how do we put it together for our students, for the young generation. And the idea is, let us look at it in a structured way that may help them. So for the next 5-10 minutes, I want to share with you and then get your thoughts on this. So the idea is first that we want to attain moksha. What is our goal in life in Jainism? It is to attain moksha. But, day to day telling the kids, that's hard to do, really hard to do, especially like, 5-year-old, 10-year-old. We say we want to achieve happiness. For those who are at another stage, you can say equanimity. So that we want to do that. How does one get to there? It has to do with our philosophy, which then lead to our principles, which lead to our Jain practices. And yes, rituals and festivals are part of it as well. Philosophy talks about the fundamental nature. Principles talk about those key truths. Practices is what we do day to day. And we have lots of philosophy, but when I talk to the kids about dravyas and tattvas, they roll their eyes. And principles, it's really hard to talk about anuvrats directly to the kids. So how do we take that idea and then bring it to a level where we can better understand and help them understand? So in philosophy, we can talk about the theory of life, theory of soul, theory of karma, theory of moksha. And in principles, we have the triple A's, ahimsa, anekantvad, aparigraha, and then there are multiple practices from vegetarianism, forgiveness, compassion, meditation, which we will talk about in more detail. So in essence, the bottom line is we can take Jainism for our younger generation and put it in a much more understandable language for them to relate to. So I'll pause with that and let's have a conversation. Is this a challenge for the generation trying to relate to the scriptures and so forth? What do people think?
Most of you are Pathshala teachers, so you must have come across some.
Yeah. So
some
yes, absolutely. So what do Pathshala teachers think?
We would love to hear from you.
Anyone, do you have challenges with your students in relating to the details?
Even the kids, sometimes they ask such questions that stumble us most of the time.
Or young parents, do you have a chance to talk to your kids about Jainism, and how do you explain Jainism to them? Surli, your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, this is sorry, this is Palami.
Palami, please go ahead.
I sometimes feel like, first of all, we don't have enough time in Pathshala. The second is we have like 54 students and everyone is basically, they want to get done with it. So like if you have a class, I feel like if you have a class of like 12 or 15 people, then probably you can make those conversation and you can maybe go a little bit deep. But right now, the Jainism has been limited to the kitchen, I would say. Like in Jainism, we're not supposed to eat this, and then that's
Or
all it is.
yeah,
And the thing is, at homes, like I would say 90% of the sung, as soon as they get out of Pathshala, they go to hotels. It's not so much of kids' fault as well, because it has to, like, every parent has to be in some or other way Pathshala teacher.
yeah, absolutely. So let me say this. What you've said, something which is resonates with me quite well, is we have moved Jainism to the as only to the kitchen, right? You either eat this, don't eat this, or fast or don't fast. What do others think about that? Are we reducing so much of Jainism just to those values of eating and non-eating? How is other people's experience? Please, this is an open conversation, and we want to share each other's views, because it is in this process we'll come to a better Pathshala for our kids.
So I feel like here in India, I would say that Jainism is more related to the food, but here I don't see it that much. Only some households they follow a very strict Jain diet and all that. My challenge is my challenge is different, as I have middle schoolers. I feel some kids really want to understand, and some kids are just coming to socialize, and they are coming because their parents are saying. Um, and another challenge I feel is that when we teach philosophy to kids, they don't want to listen to the lecture or presentation. They want real life example. How would they handle the situation at school if something had to happen? So they want real life example. And we until now, like 3 years back, we had a teacher like who teaches here at US, one of the school in US, and she would give a very good example because she has gone through that situation. So, and she's born and brought up here. So and since I came to US after I got married, so for me, just placing myself in a school situation is not there. And kids who are born and brought up here, for them, it's just their different culture than compared to other kids and all that. I feel that's the more challenging than food part.
Yeah,
That's what I think.
sure, and very important that we don't hit them with the philosophy, but hit them with examples. And in fact, that's what we want to talk about also, is how do we relate it to in examples. So great. Other people, Mayuri, your thoughts on this? And please share on the challenges you're facing, please. Yeah.
I am Manoj Bhai, mother of 3 kids. I have eldest daughter passed out from the Michigan after doing the graduation. I have middle-aged teenager also, 18 years, 19 years old daughter. And the youngest one is my son going to 9th grade, 15 years old. So
Wow.
now we moved, I have been to India. We moved from India, not so like we are like new to US. We moved just 5 years ago. So when I compare Jainism, I used to go to the Vyakhyan of the Maharaj Sahib. I used to send my kids to the Sibir as well. So when I compare Jainism, we are teaching in India, we are teaching in US. I think in US we are might be doing better. I feel so. Because in India, kids learn actual Jain principle when they are in the Sibir. They have weekend civil, they have summer civil. Girls and boys, they go to Tapovan, they stay there for a week. So that time they get actual exposure to Jain philosophy. Whereas here in US, every week, I think we are not teaching any sutradhans. We do teach sutradhans at our Houston Center. We are very aggressive about that, but we don't take any sutradhan classes, sutra classes during our 1 hour every Sunday.
Yeah,
So there actually we are giving exposure to them about the Jain principles. And
yeah,
my kids, my 7 and 8 year kids from my class, they actually come with intelligent questions. They
yeah.
want, for each and every principle, they are looking for the reason.
Yes,
Where we have a chapter in our book when a kid is going for the grocery with a mom. So
yeah,
there we take them what they should eat, what they should not eat, and why they should not eat.
yeah,
We try to put in, I'm not a vegan, but I try to follow strict Jain diet at home. But I feel kids, we have kids from the vegan family as well. So they keep talking vegan, why we should be vegan. Another
sure.
is coming out with some other questions. So I
Yeah,
think we are actually trying to relate Jain principles, philosophy in day-to-day life as well.
very nice.
I think we
Uh,
are doing good at US.
yeah,
We should
well,
be
I think,
happy. We are getting all this.
well, yeah, I'll say this. Yes, in US, we are taking more time to look at the depths and philosophy. And that's actually what the Jain path is about, which is bringing those philosophical principles. And the very fact that we're having a conversation on these areas, I think it's really good. Prakhar, yeah, you talked a little bit about uh, your kids. Tell us the challenges that you face as a parent teaching in your kids' Jainism.
Well, not exactly challenges. It's more like an environment that we are providing. You know, like in India, you have
Yeah,
temples to visit. You have Marasa for Vyakyan uh, to go listen to them. In Paryushan, there is a different 8 days. We have different kind of atmosphere. In Oliji, we have a different kind of atmosphere. So kids get to see to that. Here, we do not have that much, especially, I mean, Memphis don't have any temple or anything like that. So we don't have that kind of environment. I know in Atlanta, we got that kind of environment a little bit, others. So it's more on the environment. I would say that atmosphere we are not able to, if we can provide them, then we need to. And
sure.
like Dr. Jain, you have told, and others also spoke about it, that it's better to give some practical examples. So it's not just about food, it's for everything. Why we follow ahimsa, what's the reason behind ahimsa. But at the same time, if I'm talking about ahimsa and then a spider came into the house, and if I try to catch it or try to die, the kids will have questions about it. Hey, you are trying to talk about ahimsa, and then you are doing this kind of stuff. So you have to come
Sure.
up with the logic. You have to,
Yeah,
like, hey, I'm not going to spray this bug
spray.
sprayer or something to kill that spider. I try to pick that spider and
Pick it up. Yeah,
pick it up out and leave it out instead of just spray it out or so.
yeah,
So these
absolutely.
are the small kind of things that you have to show them that you also follow, and these are the examples. Then we talk about, like, why we do not eat after Suryast,
Right.
why we do Navkarsi, what's the reason behind it. So today's generation is very logical, very scientific. So you have to give them the examples of that. Right now, the world is, like, if you look at it, talk about intermittent fasting, but what exactly it's intermittent fasting? It's our Jain religion, isn't it? It's eating after Suryast, eating after Navkarsi. For, if you follow those things, that's what the scientific things are coming up. So that's where I try to negotiate with them. I try to talk to them about things. I mean, my 5-year-old is too young to understand all that, but my 13-year-old understands that, and she goes with that. So that's what it is. They
Very
ask
nice.
me
Very
about
nice.
like, why you do fast, what's the reason behind it. So the reason behind it's you need to give your body also some rest. Every day you are eating, your digestive system is, so you have to bring up those kind of things into your reasoning behind that, so that they understand what's the importance of upvas. One importance is from our Jain culture, it's like um, we need to follow abstinence, we need to do tyag, do tapasya, so that we attain that. But then the scientific reason can be you need to give your body a rest. You need to give your digestive system a rest. If you're not
Right.
eating a day, that gives a body a rest, that detox your body automatically. So
Yeah.
these kind
Yeah.
of things you have to give it. So
Absolutely. So other comments, and Kinjal, your thought, and then we go into some more vocabulary ways or words that can help our kids better understand some of these things. Other
So I
thoughts,
do have one
please. Yeah.
sort of a question. So I like to listen to online Marasaheb lectures. And then there was one time I asked, because it was Uday Vallabh Marasaheb, and some of his lectures are oriented towards kids, and it's sort of funny. So, and he really loved it. But it was just one lecture that he could basically, it's the biggest problem that I have is the language. Even though we speak Gujarati at our home, but if I'm listening to any Mara Sahib, and I know that the subject is really interesting, and I hear questions from my son regarding that same subject, but still he's not able to comprehend, because obviously
I think the
it's
way
very difficult for him to
language is very
understand that
difficult.
entire
Yeah,
lecture
yeah.
in Gujarati,
So
So
yeah,
if you have,
and you're actually really lucky that you're even doing that. Most Jain
parents
folks parents are not able to do that, to have kids listen to those lectures. So great, good. Kinjal, your thoughts, and then we'll share some of the material prepared by the Long Range Planning Committee, which addresses many of your needs. Sort of how do we translate these the philosophy into the practices? Yeah.
One thing I know, Prakhar also pointed out while I was going to say that point is Pathshala teachers, like we mentioned before, you're a huge responsibility, right? You're a huge role model for people. So if we are teaching values to our kids, which we ourselves are not practicing in class sometimes, you're teaching them kashais, but you're getting mad at them for stop getting up or stop distracting. So the kid sees that. Kids are they are mirrors, right? They see right through you. So I know most parents have, okay, what they teach in Pathshala, we don't practice at home. What do we do? But at least as teachers, right? That's why our role is more important. When we practice ourselves, what we are preaching to our kids, or at least make an effort, if you're not, be honest about it, saying, hey, we all get angry, but this is how I'm trying to calm down my kashais. What is your way of doing it? Sort of have that conversation with them, and you don't have to be perfect as a Pathshala teacher, but showing the effort that you're learning and practicing, trying to at least practice what you preach, also connects with your students. That is one connection point that I've seen most of the time. And they will feel that, okay, I am not like somebody, oh, I can't do this. No, but my teacher also can't do, but this is how she is trying to do it.
Right.
So having
And
that practice what you preach.
Yep, practice. But what are those practices? If we were to ask, what are Jain practices, and what are the principles which get to those practices? So let's do a conversation here on the core principles. If I were to ask the group, you have to teach your Pathshala students, what are the core principles and of Jainism? What would you guys say?
ahimsa
Any
and
thoughts?
anekantavad.
Anihansa and Anekantvad. Great. Aparigra, right? So now I'm gonna share my screen. So we call them the triple A's, right? So now the question is, where did they come from, and what is the depth and in those principles? So it is the triple A's, correct? You can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Ahimsa, Anekantvad, Aparigraha. In fact, the triple A's come from the Tattva Sutra. Now you may ask, but where in the Tattva Sutra? This is the introduction. Just look at this, how significant it is. The central theme of the Tattva Sutra, which Kinjal was saying, is the Bible of the Jains: non-violence, non-absolutism, non-possessiveness. Ahimsa, Anekantvad, Aparigraha. Non-violence strengthens the autonomy of life. Non-absolutism strengthens the individual thought. Non-possessivism strengthens the interdependence of all existence. So we can go into the detail, but for us to know that there is a scripture that has those things, and to take this into another perspective, is the following. It is really ahimsa, anekantvad, aparigraha is when we say the souls are equal, that meri atma or janwar ki mein bhi atma hai, that our souls, that's why we practice ahimsa. Apan anekantvad kyo karte hain? Why do we practice anekantvad? Our perspective, we respect. We don't have to agree, but we respect. Aparigraha, our basic needs is equal to other basic needs. It is not all about equality. You don't give same to everything, but that you give equity. You give more to those who need it, that fairness. Ahimsa is really about non-violence, and not just the violence in individuals, but broader. And we know that, for example, meat consumption and other things are going up. Ahimsa is also about not harming by thought, speech, and action. By thoughts, by not being revengeful. Speech, not being abusive. Action, by being vegetarian. But helping also, having empathy, compassion, and forgiveness. It is the roots of violence, intentions. So actual violence may be here, but the intentions are there in deeper. And we need to reduce. We know that there are different levels of life, and that humans have a level that is multiple times higher, and plants have a different level of life. And we do it by doing it only if it's necessary in our violence, occupation, and self-defense. And we know the story of the 6 hungry men. And one said, I'm going to chop down the whole tree. I'm going to chop down the branch. I am going to chop down or pick a mango. And the one who does the least violence, he picks up the mango from the ground. And then there is the circle of ahimsa, the whole idea that we don't want to be violent to ourselves. That is the whole idea, that non-violence has to begin with the self. So we don't want to be hurting.
We don't normally talk about in Pathshala. This is
I'm
very
sorry?
important, and we do not mention that in Pathshala.
What?
This is one point that we do not mention Pathshala. We need to work on this.
The violence to the self?
Yes. For kids, we need to help them understand this. This is so important.
Yeah. But what is people's thought on this? This is so ahimsa, right, to the self, not smoking, doing drugs or alcohol. So actually at YJA, when I do talks, people ask this very question. They ask, why should I be not drinking alcohol? Then I say, okay, do you kill animals? You eat meat? No. Why? Because I don't want to do violence to others. Have you thought about not doing violence to yourself? What does smoking do? It hurts your body. What does alcohol do? It hurts your brain. What does drugs do? Hurts your mind and your brain and your body. And so that's what nonviolence is towards, less stress, doing meditation, exercise, and eating well. People's thoughts on this idea of nonviolence towards the self. What do people think? And teaching that as to our kids.
I think the first thing that will come from students, especially where me and Kinjal are teaching, is staying hungry is also non-violent, like
It's
sort of
violence.
violence towards yourself,
Right. So
I know that they're going
exactly.
to say that.
Yep. And actually fasting, but then it's the mental intention, right, of why we're doing that. So we have to bring that idea up.
Yeah.
So great. And then what we have it is nonviolence is not just towards the self, but then nonviolence towards family and friends, not to the enemies, even animals, and to the environment. So that whole idea of nonviolence goes just beyond the self, and it goes to a broader. And then how do we take that violence, that anger, the hatred and deceit, and how do we transform it, anger, into forgiveness? Actually, our Jain religion teaches us a very nice process by which we can do that, right? Begins with self-awareness. Apne aap ko jano, right? Self-reflection, right? What did I do? And then being able to apologize, and then to reconcile and not hold grudges. And same thing with hatred, a similar process going through. And once we show kids that our religion is giving us the path to go from hatred to understanding, from deceit to straightforwardness, and it is a Jain process, then it brings many of these ideas home. Thoughts or comments on this? What do people think? So these are materials that long range planning is preparing and sharing with students, teachers, similar to the Jain Way of Life book. Do you think that this would be useful for our kids? You think this would be valuable? Maybe Neha or others, what do they think? Any thoughts? Yeah, you can go ahead. Kinjal, your
For
thoughts?
my class kids, Manoj Bhai, we have
Ji.
got a very wonderful idea. We tell them to make 2 lists, bad karmas and good karmas.
Yes.
If you are not getting angry, you are not practicing any kasai, you give a point to yourself. And suppose morning you are getting angry, mad on your younger siblings or with the mom, usually with the mom only. So you give a minus point to yourself, and that list you stick on the fridge. So that will be in front of you always, and that way you can work on reducing, practicing kasais and collecting the good karmas.
That's a good way of doing it. Great
And
tool.
next day, when next Sunday we are meeting, all kids are excited to talk about their experience.
Yep.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I think it's working great with our class kids.
Good. So we talked there about ahimsa. Now the value, the principle of anekantvad. Now here's how we've sort of helped our young people understand. There are different ways of looking at it. You can have an absolute view or an acceptance view. There's a continuum. And now this gets, for a few minutes, this gets a little more detailed, but we're sort of sharing it with you to see how it would make sense. So imagine there's an individual, there are others, and there are different perspectives. You can have an ordinary perspective or an anekantvadi perspective, which is what we want to encourage, or an absolutist, like a fundamentalist. This is the only right way perspective. And suppose we're just looking at a glass of water. So this is explaining to middle schoolers what is anekantvad. Now, tell me if this could work well. So when we look at something, I or you, self, we look at, say, a glass of water. So we can say, and others look at it, right? Ordinary view, they may have an absolute or they may have mixed view. But there is really, we look at it from different perspectives, and there's not any aggression or anger between one or the other. However, if I take an absolute that this is a half-filled cup of water, and if I have an absolutist view, and others may have a view which may be that it is also absolutist, what that does is it leads to conflict between the two. So the absolutist view can lead to conflict. However, if I have an anekantvadi view, I'm open to others' ideas, and others may have any view. They may have an absolutist view or anekantvadi view. Then they are more respecting of one another. And that is what anekantvad is doing, helping me and others have respecting views. And that is the path to equanimity and understanding, respect, dialogue, tolerance, open-mindedness, and acceptance. And so, in brief, anekantvad is really talking about why having anekantvad view makes sense. Any thoughts, comments, or queries on that for our Pathshala students and so forth? What do people think? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I like that quite a bit because I think that's also going to help the kids when they enter the professional world where, you need to respect each other's opinions. And that's how you kind of come up with the best ideas.
Yeah. So this is for the middle schoolers, this is something that they can help better understand. And there's the content that goes along with this that helps better understand it, but sort of sharing the graphics of it as well. Now, the third principle of aparigraha, knowing the difference between our needs and wants. And it's really hard to put that in day-to-day, but it's basic needs, food, water, then there are necessities, and there might be like a telephone, their iPhone, then there are comforts, such as being in an air-conditioned environment. Then there may be wants, which could be their new gadgets, but then there's also greed. And so aparigraha really talks about this continuum, and it really relates to the attachments. So soul attaching to the body, right? That whole concept is there. It's soul attaching to the mind as well, and the soul attaching to others, soul attaching to money. These are all the various parigrahas and attachments that one has. And then there are objects and others that we can do too. So in brief, what those are the principles, and how do those principles relate to the practice of day-to-day? So ahimsa is the principle, vegetarianism is a practice, forgiveness, compassion, service, even yoga exercise, carefulness, intoxicant-free, stress-free. So these are all the practices that are from our Jain scriptures. In fact, we'll go to them right away. We can go and see the scriptures, that practice of vegetarianism, veganism, where does it come from? all the living creatures desire to live. Nobody wishes to die from the sutras. And then what are the science benefits of those practices? But before I go into that, thoughts, comments on some of the practices of Jainism, and then we can talk more about that. What do people think about the three principles and the multiple practices? Does this make sense? Do you think young kids would be interested in some of this? Or this is too much? Surli, your thoughts?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Others? Kinjal, how do we relate to a lot of our students with these principles from the books and Tattva Sutra and stuff?
They can. The best part about our three principles is they can practice it right away. Use it at school setting, at home setting. When we ask for examples, kids come up with wonderful examples about something that happened during your day at school. I asked them about our Pachala was on Fridays first. So I asked, today, did you face any conflict or some kind of with your friend? And they tell me what happened. And as a class, we try to role play it and see how they could have done it better. So that kind of helps them prepare that next time this happens, maybe I should approach it this way. And the kids are pretty open to the idea when the whole class is kind of helping them and trying to help them come up with a solution, be it conflict with their siblings at home, conflict at school. So where Anikadvad comes into perspective. Ahimsa is now that kids grow older, they have a choice of what kind of foods they want to eat at a party, if they go to a friend's house. So now they're into, I know they don't actually go grocery shopping, but they are aware of the kind of foods they eat in the pantry. So we give them a project saying, hey, go open your pantry and pick out the 10 best foods you like. Search online if they're vegetarian or not, or something like that, just to make them more aware. And they're pretty smart. They can make informed decisions. Once you give them the knowledge, they make the right choices if you give them the right knowledge they need to surround them with. So,
yeah.
Aparigraha is an issue that most kids, we have to, wants versus needs. It's hard even for us adults to, on that gray line, we cross easily and come in the black area where we, so for kids to practice, it is tough, but we can help them and help ourselves work on the area. And I loved your scale, which is not like plus or minus black and white scale. It's a gradual scale and you can be anywhere on that scale. But like you said, the intention, the bhav matters. Is your bhav that I want more and more? Or a bhav is like, I have things, I'm not really attached to them.
So let's take a minute or two and talk about the aparigraha practices. And then Kinja would like to hear from you on some of the best practices that in your experience have worked well in teaching Pathshala as well. And then from Vitika, we will go through some interesting Jain path journey exercises that have that students may also enjoy doing. So, but just again, I'll share my screen on the aparigraha practices and how does one relate to them. So you talked about balancing needs and wants, right? That's aparigraha for Jainism. Contentment, fasting, austerities, controlling our sensual desires, art of dying, charity, environmentalism, all have great amount of depth, each one, and each one is related to the Tattva Sutra. But these are some of the Jain practices that can help our students better understand Jainism. And then for Anekantvad, the practices are related to open-mindedness, meditation, mindfulness, respect, humility, straightforwardness, scripture reading, equity, even puja, and prayer. So various day-to-day things, practices that people can do that come from the three core principles, ahimsa, anekantvad, aparigraha, which come from the Tattvat Sutra. So as you noticed, the words tattvas or dravs, all of them have not been used. Now, purposefully, because once we start talking about that to many kids, they are not able to pick that up or as quickly. Yes, at the second stage, they may be, but this initial stage, they might not be. So thoughts from our teachers. What do you guys think? Does the graphic and others make sense? Mayuri, Ben, your thoughts? Would this relate to your students?
Yes, Anekantvad definitely. For aparigraha also, we give some, we have a prayer prior to our Jainism class at our Houston Center. And we give Prabhavna to the kids who are present in the prayer. So after prayer, immediately Jainism class starts. So we usually talk to kids about the donation, aparigraha, and what happens, kids are so much willing to donate from that Prabhavna. So
Yeah.
one kid will get up and will collect all the donations. So last week, a girl reached out with a $50 bill.
Wow.
And it was such a big amount, and she got this for the reciting sutra during the Prajushan. It was an appreciation gift from the Jain Center of Houston. And so
wow.
immediately I told her, it's a very big bill. You can't just donate to the Parsada Jainism class, but you first check out with your mom and you give it to your mom first.
Yeah.
So she said, okay. And now what we do, we collect all the money every whole year, and then we give it to one of the teacher. She collect money from all the Jainism classes, and we try to donate all the collected money to either for some Jividaya work.
Yeah.
So that way we are teaching our class kids to donate, to do a parigraha, whatever prabhavna you have got, you try to use it for some better or to donate to somebody needy.
Great. Yeah.
So that way we are doing a parigraha, and we tell them about the Vandar also. Anekantvad, I think yes, Anekantvad, that principle we need to. Yes, I think it's difficult for, we are trying to teach them that, taking that example of elephant.
Yeah.
But I think we can still do more.
Sure. So in order to bring many of these values to and principles to day-to-day thinking and self-reflection, what we've prepared is some tools. And Vitika, if you want to take a minute, if you can able to, or if talk, or I can share with individuals. Yeah, please share the tools. So for Pathshala teachers, actually, we would like you to try this tool. It takes about 10-15 minutes. It's a simple exercise, but it's really excellent self-reflection exercise about how Jain one is, what is happiness, and what my priorities are. And Vitika will guide us through this, please.
Actually, in this is my Jain path journey sheet. We call it my Jain path journey. Like what our life, what is our reflections, how we are seeking for happiness, and what are our priorities. On basis of these things, we'll be able to analyze ourselves. For this, we have divided this sheet in 4 parts. First is my life. My life, in which it's very general. We are just taking your, your name, age, city, etc. What important is here is what I am seeking for. That is, what are the 3 things that you are seeking in your life? It can be personal, it can be professional, and it can be your religious life. It is up to you. You
Yeah.
have to write it about yourself.
And you're not sharing it with anyone. That will
Yeah,
send
you don't
you
have to
the
share it. It is just for
you don't share.
yourself.
So this is a self-reflection journey, and we're actually asking the Pathshala teachers to do this self-reflection journey to better understand themselves, and then how they can share this to others. So exactly, the first, and there's a video that you can watch that'll guide you through. And then the next is?
Next is my reflection sheet. My reflection sheet, see, exactly, it's like one is not Jain just by going to temple or having last name as Jain. Rather, it is what we believe. There are very small things, बहुत छोटी छोटी बातें होती हैं in our life which we can teach to our children. Just कि हम अगर हम vegan हैं नहीं हैं क्यों हैं, हमें गुस्सा नहीं करना चाहिए, क्यों नहीं करना चाहिए, we have very small reasons for that. जैसे अभी अपन ने सुना था, अभी उन्होंने बोला भी था सर ने कि जैसे वो एग्जाम्पल देते हैं अपने बच्चों को, वैसे ही हमको भी समझना चाहिए कि why these, what are the reflections with us. So in this, आप ये वाली शीट में your practice of vegetarian, like whether you are vegetarian, I am not vegetarian, mostly vegetarian, इसमें you just have to pick select that and write the number over there.
Right. So different levels where you're at, my practice of forgiveness, I can control my anger. And
yes,
right.
Your bad needs and wants, are you able to do it? I purchase lots of clothes and gadgets.
Yes.
I buy things. I don't
So
buy.
this is a very practical sheet, and it relates to what one is doing in a day-to-day. So if the Pathshala teachers do this,
Pathshala teachers are able to do it, then
the
will help you to better make your children understand. See why we are doing it and how we are doing it.
And you get a score.
In the end, when you write all the numbers, you'll get a score for it.
Yeah. So you get a score.
That is mini self-reflection score.
Okay. So that's self-reflection. Then
third is seeking my happiness. See, we all desire to be happy in our lives. So now it is the time how to explore it. What is happiness for you? So there are a few questions through which we can know, like, are you happy? See, you have to write on a scale of 1 to 5, you have to write the number. At present, what is happiness for you? What happiness are you seeking for the most? Is it like joy, simple pleasure, equanimity, or achieving moksha? Depends
on you. So we talk about that. Yeah.
So at present, how happy are you? So there are many questions. You have to rate them on the scale of 5 and again write the number, and you will be getting a score for that.
And it's all self-reflection for your own benefit to see where you are in life at this time. Very, very nice self-reflection. And the last one, Vitika?
Last one is my priorities. We have number of Jain practices in the scriptures, which we actually have grouped into 24 core practices. We have taken out from those practices from Tattvad Sutra. ऐसे हम देखें तो बहुत सारी practices हैं, लेकिन 4 practices which we have derived from the principles जो अभी बताएं, अहिंसा, अनेकांतवाद and अपरिग्रह. So in this stage of life, which practice is your high priority for you? Non-violence practice, non-absolutism practices, or non-possessive practices? So you just have to write the priority of these practices in each of these. Top priority to low priority.
Right. So for example, for me, I'm really seeking a stress-free life, right? I want to be more careful. So I put those in the top priorities. The other ones, I've already, the vegetarianism, it's there. Compassion, it's okay. But those are the ones I want. In non-absolutism, focus on meditation and humility, straightforwardness in that way. What this does, it helps. There's so many practices that we can be working on to improve. But this guide can help us do that. And it links back to the Jain Path book as well. and it relates to some of those and describes those practices in detail. So
Yeah. We'll be
we've got,
sharing
yeah,
these sheets with you via mail, and they are auto saving. You just don't have to save it directly; they are auto save.
great. Thank you so much. So Kinjal, over to you, and spend a few minutes with our group, dress practices, Parshala teachers, and then we'll talk about the exciting stuff that we have. We have only 2 sessions to share with you many of the things that are being done and produced. And we'll be again meeting next Saturday at the same time. But Kinjal, what are some best practices for our Parshala teachers?
To begin with, I want to say this is from my personal experience. I am no expert in this. We all are learning as we go. I'm sure I can learn a lot more from you than you guys can learn from my opinions. But before I move on to that topic, I wanted to mention the worksheet is amazing. I have done the Jain Path workshop with Manojji and Yogendraji, his brother. They are something that they put numbers down. You can actually see where you're at. And then I was sharing this with my husband and my 10-year-old, and he was like, Mom, we should do this every few months and see if our numbers increase. He was so excited to see what he can do to get his numbers up from where he was. So I was like, okay, let's make it a practice. Pre-pollution, like we do Samvat Se Pratikar, we reflect. This is a great way. Sit with your family or even yourself. Look at the sheet and you will know, okay, this is the stuff I need to improve on, and this is my score from last year. How better have I got with it? It's wonderful. You guys have done an amazing job, Manojji.
Thank you so much. And again, I'll say this, we are piloting with this, and we purposely, a small group of people getting together with, and all the Parshala teachers and others who are here are ambassadors in there as well. So I'm going to have Edwin is go ahead and making a comment, and then Kinja will go over to you. Edwin, go ahead.
Yeah, this is regarding the sheet actually. So everybody will get a link actually. So when you click on that link, it will prompt you to, copy and save it on your drive actually. So you need to have a Google account compulsorily. I believe most of the people already have it. If they don't have any, they have to create an account in Google, the Gmail account. And it will be automatically saved into your account. So you are not actually sharing with anybody. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And some of this personal, people don't want to share, which is perfectly fine. We just want it to be a self-reflective exercise, and we can send it as an Excel sheet as well. The point of contact to help you walk through it will be Vitika. She'll be there on WhatsApp and to help you. And it gets a little complicated sometimes, but it's really fun and exciting and self-learning, and then definitions, you can refer back to that. So over to you, Kinjal, for our last 10-15 minutes.
Okay, we were talking from my experiences about how we can connect with students better. So
Yes.
Me and my husband, we always talk before Parshala, we talk like, hey, I have this issue, the student is this way, how do I get his attention? So based on that, we have a list of certain pointers that I would like to share with you. One thing is, as adults, kids do not remember what you taught them, but they remember how you made them feel. That's important to all of us. It is such an important point that every student in Parshala, be it 50 kids or 20 kids, they will always remember if they were happy and content or just being there, or they'll remember that they hated the Parshala. 10 years later, they will not be able to tell you what you taught in class and you taught this philosophy to them, but they will remember how you made them feel. So we have to address those emotions in kids. If some kid is, I understand parents play a huge role in it, if they're not paying attention in class, if they're just coming because their parents are sending them or they are disrupting the class, our duty as a teacher would still treat them with love, treat them with respect, and make sure they are also part of the class. Don't ignore them. Don't show your resentment towards them not following the rules. It's okay. They will come around. Eventually, when you encourage them, just keep encouraging them. That's one of the very important lessons we learn throughout the day. We have seen transformation from a kid 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade. He hated to be there. Until he was in high school, it was such a transformation. And he was sad that, oh, you're leaving Parchala. I love coming to Parchala. It was the opposite. So it just keep a positive attitude towards all your kids. Treat, like we said, right? Treat all of them like your own children. Secondly, all kids like to be connected. So when you're talking to them, make sure you know their names. Make sure you look at them. You call them out saying, hey, what do you think of this idea? Even if you're sitting in the back, get them involved. A more conversation type teaching brings more learning rather than just you writing on the board or reading from a book. It kind of gets boring and they zone out. Even we adults, if somebody just reading a presentation, you get zoned out. You want something that's more involved, more active. So for being that way, to get involved and being more active and not reading from the book, we need to do our homework. At least take an hour or two in your entire week to prepare for your class. Very, very important. If you're not prepared, kids can tell. They know that the teacher is reading from the book. She doesn't know actually what she's talking about. So when you have time to prepare, you are more confident. Since you are more confident, you're better able to answer their questions. And once again, you don't have to be perfect. If a question comes up that we do not know to answer, I generally reply that, that's a very great question. I do not know the answer. Let me find that out for you. And next class, remember to answer that question first. So the kid feels that he asked a question, he was heard, even though the teacher didn't know. She came back to me and she answered my question. So next time they'll be more open to asking questions. If their questions get ignored, you will not get their thoughts. They will not bring out their thoughts to you. So that really helped us. And that made the class more interesting because if one kid does that, the other kid will be like, hey, I have a question too. So can you answer my question too? So that really helps. One other thing is making the topic relevant, and that Manoji did a great job today to talk in terms of today's language, the words he gave, the terms he gave, instead of talking pran and paryaptis, and we talk about dravya and tattva and all those things. Kids cannot relate because that is not the language they speak at home. Even if they speak Gujarati or Hindi, it's a kind of a normal language. We don't use simple terms, right? So this word will really, the terms that Jain Path has given us will help our kids connect more to the material we are teaching them. At the same time, we'll give them the same values that we intend to give them. Some other things that to keep class more interesting, you talking all the time kind of gets dry and point. So get the class moving, physical, even if by meditation is one way. Last class, I think Paulamy was there. We did a meditation with our kids, and the minute we said meditation, they were like, we have 5th and 6th graders. So they're like, no, they had that groan. And then we had like, I tell them, no, it's going to be fun. And I had everybody close their eyes. And we didn't do the kind of Om meditation or something like that. The point was just to bring them to the present. So we were like, close your eyes. The entire exercise, the goal is you can do whatever you want, but close your eyes. So you got to wiggle your toes, feel it move, and then hear the breathing around your friends. And everybody starts breathing loudly just because they want to make it more fun. Then we bring them to the present. Can you hear my voice? Please focus on the surroundings, just to bring them to present. It doesn't have to be like spiritually elevating. It's just to bring them to present. Make it more fun. And one other thing you can do is in the middle, maybe half an hour, if you have an hour class, 30 minutes later, everybody stand up. Let's do Kamasamo. That's the one way to teach. Let's do the right way to do Kamasamo. So everybody gets up and moves around. So that brings them to the present and so from the zone that they have. A lot of projects for elder kids. I'm not sure, younger kids have different projects. In our Pathshala, we had a teacher who was amazing with Surali's age class or Mayuri Bain's class, right? So they used to bring out Play-Dohs and do swastik with Play-Dohs. Or they bring out props for the kids. Let's bring beads out and mala and teach them about Arihant and Siddh, the different color beads, and let them make their own malas. So we had lots of different activities that keeps them engaged, not just talk and teaching on the board. So having some kind of prop and stories, those are the best way to teach a message. Anything we'll remember that?
Yeah, I want to ask one thing because right now kids are watching YouTubes and other sorts of video a lot, and they can connect with video very easily. Is there something in the English, a good story that Jain story or something that
Yeah.
maybe we can show to the kids?
Yes, yes, there are on YouTube now, especially they were before, but now because of COVID times, tremendous, really good, high quality videos of Jain Tirthankar stories, even different videos have come up. So there
Not
is
just
always
Tirthankar story, because that
moral
probably
lessons.
they all know, because we are teaching Jainism class first. They've been in each class for like 2 years. So they know
Right.
the major stories, but something like, sometimes we hear from a lecture, small stories, but they're really interesting and really funny. And I mean, if you have something, just share.
So absolutely. So we'll try to find resources. We were going to have a 5-10 minutes on eJain library, which has some of the content, but many of you may already know it. But we'll work on some of sharing and stories and others from Jainism that people would like to be aware of, the kids. Okay.
That's a great point. I will try to. In USA partial teachers, I know there are a lot of videos, and sometimes the story doesn't have to be about Jainism particularly, but you can relate it. Something about compassion.
Yeah, exactly.
I-
Yeah.
Something about morality.
I'll tell you, actually, I don't
Go
know
ahead.
if you've seen it in Netflix. I put it in the Parshala teachers group,
Yes.
and it was The Minimalist. How many people here have seen The Minimalist on Netflix? Anyone has seen it?
Yeah, I don't have Netflix, but I know about
No,
it.
I
I
have
have
not.
read.
You haven't. Okay, so if you know Aparigraha and you want to see the modern application of Aparigraha, the minimalists are two young men who said, this world has completely got out of hand. The capitalistic system is feeding us to make everything is that I need this, right? It is a need. If I don't have the latest iPhone, then I will be deficient, defective, you know. So that whole marketing approach and need in a very gentle, personal, individual way, it's 100% aparigraha. So that's a great video to watch for kids.
Malavi, that's actually a great point. I have, I think on USA Parsha Teachers Google Drive also, I'll try to create a separate folder for stories and the topics. So that will maybe help teachers have a list of stories and the message they give. So it's easy to
Yeah,
access.
Kinja, you need to send me the WhatsApp link as well. I'm not there on the USA
Okay,
batch.
I will do that. I will do that.
You have to
Thanks.
join there. That's great.
Yeah,
So
so those are some of the points I would like to learn
Excellent.
from you. If you guys have something to share, all the rest of the teachers can benefit. And I know we have a lot of teachers who are missing today because of various activities that they're sung. But we can definitely, we are recording this, so we can share this with all the other teachers. So please feel free to share what worked for you, and we can all learn from that.
So I'm going to ask the young parents and teachers, I'm sorry, but I'm a Parshala teacher too, so I'm going to give homework. It's a fun homework. It's 2-part homework, guys, okay? And we want to get your feedback, because from this, we'll collectively learn and become pilots for how we improve Parshala for our kids. So one is you heard Kinjal give many of her views on best practices. Superb stuff, right? Don't just lecture at the kids, conversational mode. Get them to get up and do things. Great. What I'm going to ask is our Parshala teachers at our next session next week, bring in 3 ideas, okay? 3 best practices which you have seen, done, or heard about, or would like to try with your Parshala teachers to make your Parshala more enjoyable for your kids. So very quickly, we'll go through them from your experience. Try 3, but even if you come up with 1 or 2, that is really good. And the second is work with Vitika on doing your self-reflection. Kinjal, you're absolutely right. It opened my eyes to many of the things. And I'll tell you, I am incredibly deficient on possessiveness, right? I am obsessed with gadgets, right? iPhones. I got, I have an iWatch. I got iMac. Anyways. So long story short, any other final thoughts? What a great experience this has been to converse and to share. Right? There's so much material. There's so much that we can share, but we just shared just the snippets of that. But comments from people, and we'll come back next week and then share more. There's a lot more there as well. And then we'll end with the Namokar mantra. Any thoughts or comments from others as we finish?
And
Kinjal,
if anything you would like to learn, maybe next time let's focus on this thing, please feel free, because this is our first time doing it. So we're trying to make it better and better for like all the Pathshala teachers throughout. So have it like a consistent program. So you guys are the foundation of this class.
Yep, absolutely. And what the needs are for the Pathshala teachers to address those needs. And we are very mindful of your time. We're not going to be holding this, very, very frequently, maybe every 3 to 6 months, conversations where you can use us as a platform to get many of those ideas or other platforms that maybe work. So great. If not, Kinjal, Namokar mantra to finish up our session today.
Om Namo Arihantanam. Om Namo Siddhanam. Om Namo Vayariyanam. Om Namo Vajayanam. Namo Loe Savasahunam. Eso Panchanamukaro. Savapavapanasano. Mangalanancha Savvesim. Padmam Havai Mangalam. Padmam Havai Mangalam.
Great. Jai Jain, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Jai
And we'll
Jinendra.
see you.
Thanks a lot.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai
Jai Jinendra, everyone.
Jai Jain, everyone.